try another one. The video cut me off in the middle of the last one, so it kind of ended abruptly. I don't know if you're watching multiples of these, but anyway, this one has a couple different issues. If you notice, there's a lot of polyatomic ions in this one. That's kind of a little reflecty on that, isn't it? So Ba3, PO4, 2, Al2, SO4, 3, BaSO4, and AlPO4, right? So we've got a lot of polyatomics. If those polyatomics don't change, it's nice to just leave them and pretend like they're one atom. Because if my sulfates are balanced and my phosphates are balanced, then my sulfurs and my phosphoruses and oxygens will be balanced, right? So remember, we had some vocab issues, it seemed like the other day when I was talking to some students. So reactants is what we start with. Products is what we produce. These things turn into these things kind of thing, right? So we start with barium phosphate and aluminum sulfate. We make barium sulfate. If you've ever had any gastrointestinal issues and had to drink like this white, like milkshakey thing that was gross, it's barium sulfate. It's big, fluffy white molecules that reflect a lot of x-rays. So works well for x-ray because like your normal intestines don't reflect x-rays. So they can't see your intestines very well. So again, with my atom inventory, I'll start with my barium. I have 3 bariums here, and I have 1 barium here. So we fix that by slapping a 3 in front of this barium sulfate. I like to just say, well, what did that mess with? Well, that would mess with my sulfate. So we come back here and say, well, there are 3 sulfates then. The thing is SO4. Sulfate is on the back of your periodic chart. And you can look at that. The thing is SO4. It happens to have a -2 charge. Well, there are 3 of this thing. There are 3 SO4s. The 4 is about just the oxygen. So if I'm counting individually, I have 3 sulfurs and 12 oxygens. But instead, I'm just going to say 3 SO4s. Then over here, hey, look at that. I already have 3 SO4s. There's parentheses around that. So the thing before it is SO4, so it's 3 SO4s. But I do have 2 aluminums. So look at that. I got 2 aluminums. I like to just do this back and forth thing, right? So whichever compound, it's the 2 halves of the compound. So then aluminum over here, well, there's only 1 aluminum. So we put a 2 in front of that aluminum. That gives me 2 phosphates. Hey, look at that, 2 phosphates, 2 phosphates. So this is balanced. Slap a couple of 1s on here just so that we know that we're all done with it. Again, you don't really have to do that, but for computer programs, grading things and stuff like that, that can be helpful. So this is gasoline. Right, the octane rating in gasoline, oct, the prefix oct means 8, right? So that's what that octane is referring to, some certain properties of it. But gasoline's all C8H18. And right, so this is the gasoline that you put in there. It's a liquid that vaporizes really easily and catches on fire. You need oxygen to come in from the surroundings to burn that. And then you make carbon dioxide and water that go out the back of your tailpipe, right? So when we go to balance this thing, let's go ahead and change color so we can see what new things we're working with. When I see oxygen like this, I'm going to save oxygen for the end, right? It's in 3 different spots. So I have 8 carbons. I have, now careful, do I have 2 carbons here or 1 carbon here? Hopefully you're saying you have 1 carbon here. The 2 goes to just the oxygen. So we have 1 carbon. I want 8. So we put an 8 in front of this. Now I have 8 carbons. That was a pretty simple fix. I have 18 hydrogens. I want 18 hydrogens. Well, I can get 18 hydrogens. I just need how many waters? Hopefully you said something along the lines of 9. And by along the lines of 9, we mean 9. And that's where you might already be perceiving, if you have ESP, you already are like, wait a minute, we're going to have a problem here with these oxygens. Can you see what the problem is going to be with the oxygens? So let's look at our oxygens. We have 2 oxygens here. I have over here, we have 8 times 2 for 16 oxygens. And I have 9 times 1 for 9 oxygens. So that's 25 oxygens. Do you see the problem yet? What do I multiply by 2 to get 25? We don't really have a whole number, right? I could do 12 and a half or 25 halves and get there. But we need whole numbers to balance. So if I do 12 and a half, that balances it, but I can't do that because that's a fraction kind of thing or a decimal. But how can I take an odd and make it even? Well, just round it to 26. We could probably just do that, right? We could, it's close, right? It's close. No, you can't just change it to 26. What are you doing? Right? But if I double odd things, they become even. So if I double everything here, right? If I double this, make that 2. Double 8, make that 16. Well, look at that. 2 times 8 is 16. I have 16. Double my 9 to 18. Right now I have 18, so I doubled my 16 to 32. I doubled my 9 to 18. I doubled my 25 to 50. So I can double my 12 and a half to 25. So if you find yourself at the end of a problem and like you've got an odd even issue, if you double stuff, then it fixes it, right? So, you can recount to prove it to yourself, right? But it's still even, right? If I double a math problem, if I double both sides on a math problem, it's still true, right? So 3 plus 4 equals, we can do this, 1, 2, 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. If I double everything, is it still true? Double of 3 is 6. Double of 4 is 8. 6 plus 8 is 14. Hey, when I double 7, it's 14. So if I double everything on both sides, it does balance it, right? So that works, right? That's a little trick that kind of helps, especially with some combustion ones, because you get these O2s, and so you have that even odd thing that pops up occasionally.